Hey everybody, my name is Luke Weingarten. I'm the chair of the North Carolina chapter for Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I'm joined here with a few of our board members, and they'll go around and introduce themselves when they get their turn to speak. But we're doing a whitetail gear dump today. So we're hunting whitetails in North Carolina here pretty quick. And so we thought maybe we'd take a look at gear that's specific to these four experienced hunters. What gear do they choose to use? Why? You know, some thoughts on stuff they've decided to toss out and stuff they want to put in their kit and all that business. So excited to have you here today, and hopefully you guys can come back and reference this, you know, anytime. And if you ever have questions, always reach out to us, North Carolina at backcountryhunters.org, or you can find any of us on Facebook or Instagram, or, you know, whatever is the easiest way for you to find us. We're going to go ahead and get started here. And one thing we're really not going to talk about is weapons. So just right off the bat, everybody sitting on this panel today uses every weapon out there that's available. We're talking about what is your just average hunt in North Carolina for a whitetail deer. What do you take with you? So we got archers, we've got rifle users, we've got muzzle loaders. I don't know if anybody uses a shotgun. I killed my first deer with a slug, but I don't think I'd take that out in the deer woods anymore. There we go. There we go. We got a couple doing it. But so we're not going to get into that. But we will talk about what gear these guys choose to use. So that's it on weapons. We're going to cover optics. I've got a list here. Clothing, including boots, packs, what the kill kit looks like, what a backcountry kit might look like. So a lot of us guys do these extended backcountry trips here in North Carolina and what that might look like. We got a really cool member question about the differences maybe between that Eastern kit versus a Western kit. So we'll talk about that. Accessories, things like scent cover and thermocell and rut tools and navigation. We'll spend a little bit of time on that. And then finally, an emergency kit when, you know, stuff goes sideways, and we want to make sure that we've got the right stuff on hand to get us out safe and home as put together as we can. So we'll start with optics. You know, in the woods here in North Carolina, as everybody knows, there's different parts of this state, and folks hunt all over the state. So I think this is going to be a pretty good conversation. We're going to cover rifle scopes, binoculars, range finders, and if maybe anybody ever uses a spotting scope and eye. So maybe I'll turn to Chuck King. He'll kick us off. Chuck King's our Piedmont regional coordinator, and maybe Chuck, you can talk to us about what kind of optics you use, and we'll visit some other folks along the way.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it. Like Luke mentioned, I'm Chuck. A lot of you probably getting emails from me here recently with some policy updates and things. Look forward to getting back together with everybody pretty soon. But realistically, my optics are pretty simple. The only thing that I would add to this would be a scope outside of what I'm about to show you. But I always go into the woods with a rangefinder. And I've got a cheapo Nikon rangefinder that I've had 10 years or so. Here in North Carolina, what I typically do is I'm never ranging an actual animal. I get in a tree, I range a few trees, bushes, whatnot, take some mental notes. And if I've got time when an animal's coming in, I will go back and refresher or maybe range some things that I missed. That way I've just got a general idea of some ranges. Like from here to here is 20 to 30 yard range. This tree's at 22. And that way I got a general idea of what I'm looking at. And it just makes a lot less stuff can go wrong that way. That's how I proceed. And then with my binos, I've got a pair of Vortex 8x32 or 10x32 binos. In my opinion, the 10's a little bit too powerful for North Carolina, with the exception of a couple spots. I prefer to have 8s, and I probably will be picking up a set of 8s, but no need to carry anything bulky. I've got them on whether I'm in the tree stand or whether I'm walking around. Realistically, the only thing that's going to change with that is my harness. So tree stand, I'm not moving around a whole bunch. Carry it into my pack, pull it out. I use this cheap, just real simple Cabela's harness. And if I'm hiking all day, thinking I'm going to be carrying some more stuff, I just picked up a T&K hunting gear bino harness. Totally American made. Realistically, so far, like the only downside I can see to it is the magnets, which they kind of interfere with compasses and things if you're trying to do any navigation. But besides that, that's great. It's got MOLLE attachments on the side. And that's realistically, that's the end of my optics. Like I said, with a rifle scope, even with a rifle scope, I still carry binoculars because it's easier for me to pick these up than it is to swing a scope around in the stand or walking around. So
Cool. Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate it. Anybody else use 10 buys or something different, 8 by or 12s? Maybe
10.
we'll start there. You're a 10?
10.
Tyler, what do you guys run?
You know what? I think I've got I got those Diamondbacks, and I think they are the 10s.
There you go. I run 10s too, but Chuck, man, I'm looking at 8s. I think a good pair of 8s would be super useful in Carolina. Who uses an angle compensating rangefinder?
I do.
All right, Tyler. Okay, cool. A couple of folks do. Tyler, you wanna take it and talk about what kind of optics you're running?
Yeah. So I'm like Chuck. I still got for my binoculars, I got those Vortex, those Diamondbacks. But my rangefinder is actually a Vortex Ranger 1000, and they don't really make these anymore. I think like what is it now, like the 1300 or the 1500 is the smallest you can get.
Yeah.
I keep these, and I'm going to tell you, like, when you're going to look at gear, there's a couple different forums that you can drop in on. I picked these up on Rockslide for a cool, crisp $80.
Wow.
You heard that right, folks.
That's awesome.
You just got to be there. You got to be that guy. But yeah,
retail
I
on
do a
those
lot
was
of,
like 300, right? Wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
$300.
Yeah, they're usually pretty penny. So the cool thing about these, the Rangers, is you can click on something and like just hold it, and it's got the thing where you're roaming and you stop and pause on something. It'll give you that range without having to hold it down and keep doing different. And I agree with Chuck. A lot of what I do when I'm up here whitetail hunting is I'll go ahead and range a tree, shrub, or like if I see a good defined trail or something in there, because as you know, you probably don't have a lot of time, or if you're like me, you're like trying to calm yourself down. Well, I get excited about a doe still. So, yeah, those are the ones. That's what I got. Are those that Ranger? It's a pretty good one.
That's cool. Manufacturers, real quick. So we got a couple Vortex on the table. I think Chuck, you said you're running Bushnell or Nikon. What was your knockers?
I got the Diamondback.
Okay.
My rangefinder.
Okay, right on. Andy, what you running manufacturer wise?
Some old school stuff that I've had for a long time. So my rangefinder is an old Bushnell. It's only a 450 yard, but for bow hunting, that's more than sufficient for me, obviously. And then on the 10 by 50s, I'm rocking Nikon's old ones, but on the list that I'm sure we all keep of like the next piece of gear to go to the upgrade on, those are 2 on the short list for me. So
yeah. Aaron, you dropped some big bucks on optics ever?
No, I'm Vortex Viper on the binos, and I'm still running the same Bushnell rangefinder. I know you and I were talking about upgrading. I never pulled the trigger, not yet, anyways. But it's on the list.
I upgraded and got a 6 hour that on for a rangefinder, and it's pretty nice, man. It's real reliable. It's got that red LED readout, super useful. But well, cool. Optics is one of those things where everybody says the same darn thing. You get what you pay for, but my gosh, these things can get expensive. And I think nobody in this crew, it doesn't seem, is running those like super high dollar Swaros or something like that. And maybe it would be different if we were hunting expanses. Chuck, what you got?
Pro tip. You can
Pro tip.
So for my Colorado elk hunt coming up, I rented a set of Swaro ELs 10 by 42s for $200 for the whole week.
Rented.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's shipping the whole show to my door and then shipping them back home.
Through Swarovski?
No. Through there's so many. I'd have to.
There's a bunch of services out there.
But yeah,
never. That's a good move.
Yep.
There's one of them called Rent Guns and Gear, and they're pretty awesome.
Nice. Very cool. All right, great. All right, let's move on from optics. And Tyler, why don't you kick us off with stands and saddles and ground hunting and climbing methods and all that business? I know I've been for years inchworming up trees in my old Summit, but this year I'm gonna get up in a saddle with some sticks. And I know you got some cool stuff going on in the stick world. So if you can talk to us a little bit about what your setup looks like, and then we'll move through again.
All right, yeah. So I'm Tyler. I'm the Mountain Regions Director and Vice Chair for North Carolina Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. And in some circles, I'm known as America's sweetheart. So what I've got here. So I primarily hunt here in Western North Carolina in the Southern Appalachians on Pisgah and Nantahala National Forest. So I've got a few different methods, and I'm just going to go over them real quickly. Like for my ground hunting, this is a climate, like one of the inflate, seat pads, or I got the pillow too because I take both of them. There's sometimes where I'll go into a spot and I'll actually sit on the ground. So I use these bad boys because they weigh nothing and take up no space in my pack. Oh, sorry. All right. And then what I do now primarily is I actually hunt with a saddle. This is a tethered mantis. I've hunted with a saddle now for going on, I think this is my 3rd or 4th year. And essentially, like, there is a lot of information about these saddles out there, but I've hunted with a few other companies, and I really enjoy this one because of the mesh and how lightweight it is, and you can wear it in. So when I'm going in, it's not something that I have to have in my pack. It's on me, and I've got it set up to where all the stuff isn't hanging and dangling and making a bunch of noise. So saddles, there's a lot of options out there, but there's a lot of information for them out there too. And this is the one I use. I've got my tree tether, I've got my bridge, and then I have my lineman's rope that I use to get up the tree. Or I put around the tree, because the other big thing I like about the saddles is you can always have some form of contact or being tethered or tied off to the tree while you're going up it. And I really like that peace of mind and safety, because I like the idea of coming back home, So what I use when I'm climbing the tree is I use a tree stick, and this is a Timber Ninja carbon fiber C1 20-inch stick with a built-in aider. So that aider extends down to roughly 14 inches. So that gives me 34 inches. I usually run about 3 of these with the aiders. And all I use to tie them to the tree is a 6mm climbing rope cord accessory. They're carbon fiber, so they weigh just a little over a pound with everything on it. With they're weightless. And the cool thing that I like about them is they pack really well. The packability of them is really cool. Full disclosure, this is my product. I'm one of 3 people with this product, so I'm just going to throw that out there. Okay. But
the reason you
made in
made
America.
it is the reason you made it was there was a pain in the marketplace, right? If I could cut my stick pack in half in terms of weight, whew, good for you guys.
And then have it when you're hiking in to where it's not snagging on stuff without having to go and do cutting and modding of my own at home. So there's that. And what I use as a platform, I've been looking at some great platforms from a couple of different companies, but I haven't pulled the trigger on one this year. But what I have right here, this is a Wild Edge Step. It's made by a company, Wild Edge Steps, essentially. And what it does is it goes around the tree and sets to the tree like this. And I take 3 of them and put them like that. And I have a ring that's what I use as my platform. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you the reason I'm looking at investing in a platform is that's not a lot of room to be standing on, and it starts to wear out your ankles pretty bad while you're up there in a saddle. So, Luke, that's what I got.
I love it. So who is not in a saddle traditionally?
Me.
Aaron has got a pretty cool approach because he's often hunting from the ground. But let me go to Andy real quick. You're in a stand most of the time, is that correct?
Yeah, I am. So, Andy Ruskowitz, I'm here from the Armed Forces Initiative aspect for BHA here for the state chapter in the Fort Bragg area. And I'm kind of hunting 2 different scenarios. So that's why I try and switch it up a little bit. I've got a little bit of area where I've got some regular access to, where I'm more a traditional stand, climbing sticks and a hang on. But when I'm on Fort Bragg or when I'm hitting the Sandhills Game Lands area, I'm actually still in an old school gorilla climber. So I've got my bad boy right here that I strap to the back of my pack. And I still like the climber, man. I don't know if it's just kind of the old school. This is the first way I used in getting on the climber, moving up into, growing up in Wisconsin and then coming down here as I had to try and figure out different spots. But maybe it's that level of comfortability. But, yeah, it's still what I'm rolling.
That's cool. Love it. Aaron,
Yes.
you spend a lot of time, we chatted before we hit record, and you spend a lot of time hunting from the ground.
Yes. So I'm Aaron Towns. I'm out of Charlotte, the NC State's secretary. But so this is what I use. I've had this thing forever, and it's probably about 6 inches off the ground. But what I've found is, the biggest thing I've learned is I can be extremely mobile, and that's like the thing that I care most about is just being mobile. So typically, you're exploring new spots, and if it's not looking, not panning out, I want to be able to move, and I don't want to have to, tear down, sticks and or walk down on the climber and walk around. So this makes it very, very simple. I just attach it to my pack. But what I found most, that I think the reason why I like it, there's really two things. It's one, when you're at ground level with the deer, they just become so much bigger, and it just, I don't know, they're so much cooler to me at ground level. But two, it made me a better hunter, because if you're sitting on the ground, you're not up in the air, you're at their eye level. So you have to brush yourself in. You have to be a lot more strategic about where you pick your spots at. And I feel like it has made me exponentially a better hunter since 90% on the ground. And so I've got some cool videos. When we do launch this, Luke, I'll post like one of the videos I had where, a buck walked 5 feet in front of me. Could almost reach out and touch him. He had no clue I was there.
Wow.
Just cool stuff like that.
Yeah, man, that's cool. That's all great stuff. Chuck, kick us off on, or actually, let me go to Andy to kick us off. Talk to us about clothing. Talk to us about boots, and then Chuck, we're going to go to you. So, get ready. And I know that a lot of us here probably hunt with a lot of First Light gear. We can't help it; it's good gear. But maybe just talk about, and obviously time of year is going to matter. So perhaps like some just key critical items that you have to have, and why, materials maybe that you prefer, naturals over synthetics, and then boot choice or shoe choice, whatever it is, and then we'll move to Chuck after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So to no surprise, and definitely in there, I'm a First Light guy. I've been for going on a little over 2 years now. And really for here and kind of the Bragg area and that, I'm a big early season bow hunter. It is hot then, so I am all about the merino. So normally when I'm rocking from First Light, depending on what time of day, if it's a morning or an afternoon or getting out, I've either got the kiln quarter zip or the kiln hoodie for going on the top, and I usually run that slick. Later in the year, if I need to, I'll layer in with some synthetics underneath it if I need to. And then my go-to pant is actually the corrugate guide. I think they're absolutely awesome all year round. They're super breathable. They don't have necessarily the same scent level control as the merino does, but I just really like the ability to move around in them. They're pretty quiet, probably not as quiet as merino, but I think they hold up a little bit better. And then on the safety aspect, I actually run kind of a military rig for my safety. So on here is what's known as a rigger's belt. And then what I've got is a monkey tail, which is a kind of something that we use when we clip into helicopters or aircraft when we're riding. So I use that as part of my safety system when I'm up there. It's really good capability. And then I've got, if, later season moving in, I'll run into a corrugate guide if I need to. And then I run the same thing, all merino as far as gloves, and then the face covers or the gator aspects of it, all running from First Light. And I'm a huge Fusion as far as pattern fan down here. I think it blends in really well. It's awesome. And if I need to, I can take it with me if I head out west. So the versatility is awesome on that stuff.
How about them dogs? What do you cover your feet with?
What's that?
Your boots? What's your boot choice?
Yeah, so two things I'm kind of running around here. So it really depends. If I am going to hunt known area where I've got to stand, where I've got some access, or I've been to scouting, I run a pair of Loa Zyphers. So I kind of found these running around in some mountains overseas, and they are by far my favorite boot. And I wear them for both work and for here. And I love it. If I know there's a little bit of water, I'll throw some gators over them, but don't really need to use those out here in North Carolina very often. But if I know I'm going into an area or an unknown where there's probably some water, you can't go wrong with a set of muck boots, man. So that's my other setup. And I keep these in the truck, in the toolbox. So if I got to make a quick switch, I can always run back and grab them. And then I run 0.6, which is a really good merino sock that I can wear for work as well as when I'm going in. So the dual use is very, very useful.
Love it. Thank you, Chuck. Take it away, man. What are you packing?
So my clothes are at least the base layer portion of it in terms of what I'm wearing archery hunting is really simple and kind of old school. Cheap Walmart or Gander Mountain or Academy pants. Academy here recently, past few years, have kind of been my go-to to go buy some cheap pants. But their shirts, they sell a lot of like mesh camo shirts. And the reason I like those is I can wear them in the archery. When it starts to cool off a little bit, I can throw a solid color shirt underneath it, and then I throw the mesh over top of it. So maybe it's not cold enough for two shirts. Realistically, I'm only wearing one because this doesn't provide anything. From a pants standpoint, the only thing I'll switch it up, like if I'm going hunting some game lands or if I'm up in the mountains, I've got several pair of some Columbia Royce Peak. They're a two-way stretch nylon pants, and I've beat these through briars. You get them on Amazon for like $35-40.
Nice.
So, and then with that, I wear that all year and just build up with layers. A lot of merino underneath. I've got the Kiln quarter zip. I've got some 3/4 inch thermals that I wear. Got some Under Armour, just a big variety of base layers. And then once it turns off really cold, I've got the Uncompadre jacket and puffy pants that I wear. And in terms of gloves, generally I'm wearing thin gloves all the time. I'm not a big fan of real thick gloves unless I'm just going to be sitting around somewhere with not a lot going on. So I always carry a hand warmer with me. I always got it in my pack. It's around my waist. Usually the gloves are actually zipped inside of it as the season progresses. And then I've got a hand warmer inside of it all the time. Usually I try to take these out of the truck so I don't make any noise, open them up in the tree stand, and then they're warm by the time I get cold. So that helps me a lot. That's my preferred, whether I'm rifle hunting or bow hunting.
Okay. Tyler and Aaron, do you guys have anything kind of unique to toss into that? I think those are good clothing lists, but is there something that you kind of, gotta talk about this? Go ahead, Aaron.
The only thing I would add to that is it is hot in the Carolinas, and so I mean I'm a full believer on these Kuiu Tiburon pants. I have them in solid. I got them in camo. I probably wear the solid colors more now hunting than I do even the camo, but they're so lightweight. But my favorite part is they have the zipper on the side. And so when your body is fuming, when you've walked, a mile with your pack, then you can let it breathe, and it makes all the world of the difference. That's the only thing. And the darn tough socks. That's the only other thing I would add. That
yeah, I
wear those things in the winter regularly. Any boots I wear, they're gonna be worn.
I hear it.
That's right.
How about you, Tyler?
That's a plus one for that's a plus one for the darn toughs. Absolutely love them. The only other thing, like, been using merino for years. I have different weights because the layering up here in the mountains, the temperature changes pretty quick. But I have a late season pant that I wear probably from what I call late season. So like the second archery up here, so October until January 1. They're made by a company called Numa, and that's Pnuma. They're their Waypoint pant, and they're fleece lined, and they have different places where they have like right here at the crotch. You can let some air flow, because walking in, man, you're still going to burn up. I don't care if there's snow on the ground. You're going to get hot in the gates. So they have this, and they also have it down on the sides as well. But a big thing is right here at the knee, they have this beehive pattern, and there's a knee pad that slides in there.
Oh, wow.
So that is just one more thing when I'm in my saddle. These pants, I just use that knee pad to put up against the tree. They're a great investment. I've had these pants for 6 years, and you can't tell that I've worn them hunting one time.
That's amazing. So, yeah, that's cool. Before we leave clothing as a category, so I didn't see any blaze coming up from anybody, and obviously it's different during bow season. But once them guns come out, blaze orange matters. My go-to is in North Carolina legally. We don't have any square inch requirements, but what we do have is 360. So I'm huge on just like putting a toboggan or a beanie on over a hat. It usually has a bill to keep the wind and sun out, but that's how I make. As long as my head's got it, then I feel good. How about you guys? What do you run blaze wise when it starts to become part of regulations?
A hat.
Hat.
I got a hat and then a little thing I just throw out my back.
Yeah, I carry 2 vests and a hat or a beanie all the time. And the reason for the second vest is if I got a pack on, I wrap it around my pack. So
same. Yeah.
Cool.
You need a vest, so it'll keep them both in the pack, ready to throw out. Same reason.
There you go. Nice. All right, Chuck, why don't you kick us off with a kill kit? So you get one down, things happen. It's the 1 out of 10 times that you get to shoot something, and you got it down. So you look up on that thing you always have with you.
Odds are somebody else shot it, and I'm
Yeah.
cleaning it for 'em.
He's a man, folks. He doesn't steal people's dead deer.
No, but I will take credit for being a guide. So first thing, I carry 2 knives. Even, and you'll see a little bit later in my pack, I've got an old Havilon that stays in my pack with me all the time. Just so I've always got a knife. I usually got a folding pocket knife in my pocket. But as far as the kill kit goes, my fixed blade is a Mora Companion. I've had for years. Honestly, it's for a $15 knife. It's fantastic. I don't mind it. So I had a Kydex sheath made for it where I can clip it on my belt. I can clip it on the front of my pack. I can hang it off the back of the pack. It's I can hang it anywhere when it's not in here. And then I've got a Taito replaceable blade knife with a Kydex sheath. Carry one spare blade with me, about stab myself. And usually, I can do a deer in one blade. And so the extras, just in case I forget to clean one or something happens. Gloves, just to keep the blood out. Always got paracord. Probably, I try to carry at least 30 feet. Usually I've got some paracord stuck on me somewhere else. Whether it's kill a deer on a hill, got to tie it off so it don't slide down while you're cleaning it, hang meat up, whatever. Marking tape, just for tracking. You lose a bullet trail quick. Then you throw your hat down and you lose a hat just as quick. Knife sharpener. This is it's an AccuSharp from Academy. You can get them on Amazon. They make 2 versions. They got a black one and they got an orange and green one. The orange and green one sucks. Don't waste your money. These are gold. Carry contractor bags, and right now it's intact, and I'll leave the bag intact. And so what I'll typically do though, I'll end up splitting this thing down 2 sides and lay it down. It'll be my ground cloth. So as I'm quartering off meat, I'm laying it on the ground cloth. I've got it laid up on a rock, whatever, but just keeping the meat clean. That way, something that I feel like is pretty unique to me, I carry bread bags. And I've been processing my own meat at home for several years. And the bread bags, I throw everything in the cooler after I got it quartered up. I put organ meat, any type of trim or anything is just going to fall off. And I'll throw it in these, but I don't use these all the time. So if I'm not going to be back at a cooler, like with ice in it in like an hour or something, I won't put the meat in here because it's not going to cool off. It stays hot. And I just worry about the holding temperature in these bags. But if I'm going to be back pretty quick, or if I need to dunk it in water or whatever, I'll put it in these bags. And then I guess the last thing is just some synthetic game bags. These are actually really cheap. They're heavy as all get out, but they do the job. They don't spread out. Flies can't get to the meat when you put it in there like some of your cotton ones. I carry 2. 2 can pretty much get any whitetail out of the woods. So I just, like I said, these are heavy. I don't want to carry any more. So
Nice. That's a great kit. Yeah.
Kit.
I love it. Tyler, what you got for your kill kit, bud?
So I got my kill kit is actually pretty simple. I've got some 6 a.m. outdoors game bags. I got these are actually sized to where they can carry a boned in elk quarter. I try not to have like multiple things for here versus going west. I also have this is a Primos Bloodlight, and the vast majority of deer that I've either killed or helped recover in the mountains, we found them after light has left. So I use these two things in conjunction with, and I know I get poked fun at because I have this Outdoor Edge wild light kit that I carry, but man, it has all the knives to where we can completely bone out that deer if we need to right there. Again, this is another reason is because I try not to have too much difference between what I have here and when I go west. And when you go out of state, bringing anything into North Carolina, you've got to debone it. So I just went ahead and had this kit. And generally right here is a little thing where I keep gloves like what Chuck was talking about. It comes with a sharpener. The only other thing I keep separate than that, than those 3 things, my bags, my bloodlight, in this little kit is I have one of those everyday carry, much like the replaceable blades that is usually on my person anyway. So yeah, man, that's my kill kit.
Cool. That blood light. So when you shine that light in the dark and it hits blood, it just makes it pop, right? What color is it like? I've never used one.
So it's got a red bulb and it's got a green bulb. I'll just go ahead and show you.
Okay. Who are you gonna kill?
And then you put them together.
Oh, neat. Okay, right on.
And it does this when you go back and forth. Like there's all these different modes that helps depending on what you're looking for. Really, like when you have it on there and when you're going back and forth is when it picks up. And what I've noticed, it picks up more than just the blood, is just the wetness, if you will. To like, and you can tell a difference between a glob of blood versus like some dew or like, you know, where one like stopped and urinated or something. Okay, so that was my next question. Even in the event of rain, it would still show blood different than the wet leaf around it. As long as the blood's staying there. Now, if it starts running off, man, we're like, you guys ever watch CSI? We're just calling out the dogs. Everybody see if you can find something. Aaron, do you have anything notably different in your kill kit that you like to bring?
No, the only thing I'd say is mine's just a little bit smaller. I just keep it simple, small, everything small in there, and got some gloves. That's about it. But I'd say it's all.
Andy, you got anything like notably different?
No, I think the only other thing is I'm a big fan of the disposable blade for the gutting aspect. So I've actually got a Gerber Vital, and I carry blades on me, and I really like that thing. And then as I think one of the folks on the thread for this when we're getting ready to launch stated, I keep a set of wet wipes and a set of hand sanitizer in my kill kit, because at any given time, along with the gloves, you never know when those things are going to get poked, ripped, or run through, and you guys. That's it.
All you guys make me feel guilty, because I just stopped packing gloves because I never put them on, and I'll rinse my hands after, but I don't know what it is. It's like it's too much of an issue. Every time I've used them, I've ripped them or cut them immediately, and then it's like, well, now it's just keeping the blood on me. I know it's stupid, but I just can't seem to get into the habit of using them. Maybe I'll turn over a new leaf this year. All right, cool. Thanks. All right, sorry, go ahead.
You hadn't had to wash your hands enough.
Yeah, that must be it. So after the kill kit, we were going to talk about a backcountry kit. So, and this also brings in a cool member question we had about what's different in your kit going out west versus an extended backcountry kit here in the Southeast. And I think that, I believe all of us have been on extended trips out west, and when you're putting that kit together, and plenty of you have already said, if not everyone has said, I don't like to have multiples of things. I want something that is going to treat me the same here as it will if I, drive 2,500 miles and go chase some other brown prairie thing. But in this sort of backcountry kit, I think now we're going to start talking about packs is what I want to get involved in. Just like a little bit of thought on bags and shelters, and then any sort of other thing that you always want to make sure that you have with you in the backcountry versus a day hunt, evening hunt, just walking out your back door or driving to your regular grounds. So with that, does anybody want to just sort of volunteer to take that backcountry kit? I'm actually going to call on Aaron. Aaron, bring us what you do with a backcountry kit.
Okay, so I guess there's like at the foundation level, which I think is probably one of the more important things these backcountry is the pack. I was a Kafaru fan. That's kind of when I went out to the masses and my friends that I trust. This is what was recommended. In all transparency, I haven't tried a whole lot of other. I'm sure there's a lot of other good packs, but so this is the newer one that I got. The one I had before that's probably 8-9 years old. But once you packed out an animal on one of these, you'll be like, okay, now I understand why you spend so much money on them. And by the way, Kafarus are American made, but this is a muskeg. And so for whitetail specific, I think it's just the perfect size. They have a small size that's like 2,800. They have a medium that's 5, and they have a large one that's 7,000 cubic inches. And they're waterproof. And that was the reason why I went with that. So you get a little bit more weight to it. But it's, when you're out there and you don't want to come in, it's just one less thing you have to think about as far as that's concerned. And then I'm a huge fan of the Sherman pack, and it attaches, to the bag like that. But all my packs, even including my little whitetail grab bag, all have blaze orange on the back. But for me, it's more important on the public land side. I don't really care to have, it's always there.
Yeah.
I'd rather be safe than sorry. I would say, I go out west usually once a year, and maybe the only difference for me is I'll bring a little bit more clothes because the weather elements change so drastically.
Mhm.
And so sometimes there may be some duplications because if my clothes do get wet, I need to have backup options. But for the most part, I try to keep it the same that works out here, that works out west.
Cool. Love it. Andy, how about you, man? What's your backcountry kit look like?
Yeah, so for me, I actually switch it up a little bit more. I definitely have a lot of things where they go between kits, but what I'm rocking now for my local bag is an Everly stock G3, so American made as well. I actually got this through work. I have the scabbard removed off the back since I'm mainly bow hunting, but I can get it on there. And then if I'm going out west, I'll switch over to a mystery ranch. I've got one of the assault military bags. It's a 6,800 cubic, and I can get everything else I need into there. This one's a little bit smaller. And then, a lot of the other things I think covered, but going more into, I go nowhere without a jet boil and a couple of canisters. So that's always in there for backcountry. And then maybe one thing that might be a little unique on me, just because, where I'm at, I carry a military improved first aid kit. So this is more trauma, not kind of like the kit you're going to need if you, get a cut or a boo-boo, but like this has got stuff like combat gauze, a lot of the scissors and like chest seals and a whole bunch of other kind of like tourniquet stuff that like things you need in a backcountry situation to, save life until you can get to help or get help to you. By some of the stuff I keep more when I'm just here local and there. But similar to the rest of the guys, I've got an Alps 3-man, 3-season tent that I use because I'm usually backcountry with at least one other person and some of that stuff on the footprint. And then I run a synthetic bag out of Marmot. So that's kind of the backcountry kit for me.
Cool. Tyler, how about you, man?
Yeah, so the only thing I would add is I did beef up my first aid kit a little bit, but I'm trying to think of what I don't have between my Eastern backcountry hunting kit and my Western. There's really not a lot of difference.
Yeah.
I've got a 35-degree bag because I try to keep the bag as easy to pack up in my pack. My pack is an Exo Mountain K2 5500. It is not with me right now. It is in Alaska going after caribou. And my friend was like, "Hey, can I borrow it?" So I said, "Okay, I'll do it."
And it's a great pack. Exo's a great company.
It's great, made in Idaho, so they're a good company. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I've got this Outdoor Vitals 35-degree bag, then I got a Celtic 2-person tent. I talked to Luke actually at length about different types of bivy style or better, smaller packing up in a tent, and that's the only thing I would change. Headlamp, I got Sawyer as my water filtration kit, and I keep that with me here too, just because I'm a weirdo and I'm worry about dehydrating or not having enough clean water. I guess it's because of my job. So I have a 3-liter that I keep in my pack pretty full every time I go in, and then I also have a water filtration kit to where I'm able to just go in right here off of a quick connect. Well, it's not too quick when it doesn't work, and I can just filter water straight into my 3-liter. I mean, that's one thing, but other than that, everything that I've got right here, headlamp, trekking poles, and the only reason I carry trekking poles here is I'm not trying to be cool, but I helped pack out a deer 2 years ago without trekking poles, and it was snowing on us, and I learned a very valuable lesson. So
there you go.
I will take.
How about you, Chuck?
Yeah, I'll take the extra.
Yeah, right on.
I guess realistically with me, the only thing that would change when I'm saying like backcountry, I mean like camping, would be here I'm never going to go on a floorless shelter. And that's just me personally. I like the mesh. We got a ton of bugs. Out west, I have no issues getting underneath the tarp. Now, granted, there's going to be certain weather situations, obviously, where you don't want to do that. But I guess my approach that I kind of took when I put together this like backcountry kit, I didn't really plan on talking about any of the sleep systems or anything because there's so many of those. But like when I was looking like backcountry, so I've got land here at my house that I can hunt. But then I also go and I hunt the mountains a lot, and I hunt several different game lands in the mountains plus Pisgah. And so when I leave the house, there's certain things that like I don't leave without. One being first aid kit, and then a compass. And the reason I carry a compass, not necessarily like for land nav, but I got this Suntoe. It's a M9 low risk compass. Like last year, for example, I was hunting a wildlife refuge. I was looking one way and I thought I was looking the other. So when I got down and back to my truck, I walked the dead opposite direction. I walked into a nook on a creek. So when I turned around and walked the exact opposite direction, I ran into the creek again. I had 2 digital compasses on me and they both failed.
Wow. That's something.
I probably had to stay the night illegally if it wouldn't have been for a buddy of mine that was hunting with me. And I was able to finally find his light and head the right direction. Yeah. iPhone and the compass on my digital compass on my watch failed. So I always have a compass with me. I'm like Tyler. I've always got water treatment. I use a Sawyer. I've got it rigged up to where I can use the squeeze function, but I turned it into a gravity filter. I got a 10-liter dirty bag, a 6-liter dirty bag, a clean bag, plus I can pump it directly into my pack. And the reason I do that is I pulled up one time, go to get out of the truck to go do some scouting. My bladder had bust open and I had no way to get water, and I'm 2 hours from my house.
Wow.
So, I mean, I rolled the dice, filled an Nalgene up and drank out of a creek. But so now I always carry that. Probably going to start looking into a SteriPen, bandana, Nalgene bottle combo to always have. Carry a GPS, and then I carry radios. And like, for example, South Mountain Game Land, you don't have signal. You and your buddy are hunting. It's easy to communicate. One thing I do recommend if you do to get radios, get an earpiece, because most of the time, if you got it in your pocket, you're never going to hear it. I've talked to plenty of people on it, and 2 hours later, they try to call me, and we never even get in touch with each other.
Fair.
So earpiece, plus it's silent. You can talk, whisper into it throughout the duration of the hunt. And then I've got like a little miniature survival kit, repair kit that sometimes I carry, sometimes I don't. It's got fire starter, cotton, matches, lighter, duct tape, seal seam, extra headlamp, duct tape, super glue, and a few other odds and ends, extra batteries, things like that. But I mean, that's pretty much like my backcountry like kit that's going to go with me no matter what, whether I'm staying the night or not.
Does anybody run an inReach or something similar where, you know, if shit goes sideways, you got somebody to call no matter what?
So I've got a buddy that carries an inReach with us. The only thing that I've thought about and I'm actually looking at, and I'm probably going to get made fun of, is I've thought about learning ham radio for the following reasons. We sent that inReach. We sent a text out last year, and it took it an hour to send in an area where we didn't have, it took an hour. But we're sitting there looking at a mountain in a state across the state line, and there's 3 repeater towers. And then you start looking at all this stuff, and like here at the house, I can be out hunting some places on Pisgah where I'm not going to have any service. The inReach has been spotty out there as well. If you look across the state of North Carolina, we have a very good repeater system across the state to where you can have a ham radio and communicate with anyone as long as you've gone through the sources. So in a scenario that happened last year, a buddy of mine killed, couldn't get any information to anybody, and had to walk 3 hours to his truck, drive down to the store till he got service, called us. And then, you know, it took us, you know, about 2 hours to get to him, another 3 hours to go get the deer. So, I mean, it gave it a lot of time for the animal to, you know, to perspire, which, you know, that's great. But at the same time, what if he had broke his leg, you know? So,
yeah,
I've been looking at the ham system. I'm a nerd. If anybody knows anything about that, comment below.
Cool. All right, so I think we're kind of getting close to the end here. I think the accessories bit was covered a lot when we started talking about packs, which is cool. So and as well as the emergency kit, everybody seems to sort of run through those, or at least enough of us, I think, have touched on it. So the last things I want to just sort of mention to some folks is, so if there's, I guess maybe you can answer this question at the same time, so don't draw this out any longer than it needs to be. But I guess, how do you guys feel about, are there some lessons learned in terms of like buy once, cry once, or you definitely don't need to spend that much money on it? So talk about some experiences there, and then maybe try to fold that in deftly to some places, some resources that folks can get some of this stuff and start getting into some pretty good gear for cheap. You know, maybe classified sections of some online forums that you use, or some websites that you know about that offer, you know, discounts, anything like that. So maybe folks can start upgrading their kits if they need it, or find something that they're looking for in particular. All right, you want to kick us off, maybe Aaron? How about you?
Sure. I'm a believer in the buy once, cry once on the packs. You know, anything that's going to keep you warm, like safe, tents, sleeping bags. That would be the three things I would say. Like, yeah, I love my technical hunting camo, but I could do without it. I could hunt in the Walmart stuff and still be successful. But the other things, you're going to need it to survive, and if you want to pack something out. So I would suggest that. And then Rock Slide is where I bought bags at for cheap. It's a place to look at.
Rock Slide, killer for them. Andy, how about you?
Yeah, I think for me, you know, I definitely, I don't skip out on packs like you just mentioned. Footwear, boots. It's definitely a place I'm not going cheap. Your feet are your most valuable asset when you're moving around. But as far as like some places, like on all of the, you know, the back and forth on, you know, scent control and calls, and where you can just get crazy on some of this stuff, you know, I got an old pair of antlers that I tied some 550 cord to for rattling. You know, I don't need anything other than that. I don't need anything crazy on the scent because I'm wearing merino and some of that other stuff. So that's kind of where I definitely, you know, tried it, and it's just not worth the cost on all of that stuff. And as far as like great places to check out, you know, Facebook Marketplace is always good, and then Camo Fire is legit. And then, you know, for the military folks, I would say if you're watching, there are some killer websites out there that offer you guys discounts. You know, Experticity or Promotive as it was before, and then Guide Fitter's another really good one. So worth checking out some of the stuff that's on there.
Cool, nice. Tyler, how about you?
Yeah, I would say I agree with packs and boots. That's the place where you buy once, cry once. The only other thing I would say is if you start looking at, so I'm lucky when I go out west, the area I hunt, it's actually fairly dry in both places where we go for elk and for mule deer. But we've been looking at places, and it's hard to beat good rain gear from what I've heard. And so I've actually been picking Aaron's brain about that. But just to tag on, Rock Slide's awesome. Hunt Talk, I know NC Hunt and Fish has a pretty good one. Facebook Marketplace, and just one more to add to Andy for the military, law enforcement, like government employee guys, is there's GovX that you can get a membership to. That's got some pretty good stuff.
Cool, very cool. Chuck, how about you, man?
Echo everybody. Camo Fire boots. I'm a leather boot kind of guy. I had some Irish setters. Was buying a new pair every year. Feet were getting soaked. So I buy snags because I like them. Good warranty. They last a long time based on reviews. Packs the same way. So I spend money where it's necessary, especially on clothes and gear. I guess realistically, the one thing that I can talk about that you can skimp on, where Andy bought up a jet ball with a cook kit. Because realistically, when you get into things like this, you're spending money to save weight. I've got an old Stanley camp cook set, and it holds stove, bandana, sponge. I can turn my isobutane canister upside down, stuff down in here. It all closes up, nests together, goes in my separate pot. I've got, I mean, if you count like this without the stove fuel that you got to buy all the time, I got $25 in this.
Yeah.
and I can't bring myself to spend $100. This weighs a pound, where I can get something out of Japan, titanium, for $100. You know, so it's tough.
Yeah.
Save 8 ounces.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I think that the takeaways that I'm picking up on here are that, you know, there are certain things that are absolutely worth spending money on, right? Packs, clothes, boots, shelters, bags, like that. Sleep system, like you should put some money into it. But the accessory stuff, you know, and even the optics, I don't think anybody here is running super high dollar optics or anything like that, you know. And that will stack up some bills, you know, when you're shelling them out. So I think there's certainly some opportunity to save some money there. I'm also really kind of happy to hear that nobody's doing much different for hunting whitetails in North Carolina and hunting elk in Idaho, right? It's all and intentionally so sharing space in our kits and our packs on our bodies. And I think that again sort of speaks to sort of the frugality, right? We don't need to have our Eastern whitetail kit and then a whole separate Western elk or muley kit, right? We can hunt everything regardless of what it is, that we're chasing. We can use that same kit and gear, which I love. And you know, don't be afraid to look at the classified sections on some of these forums that were mentioned. I know Rockslide, I heard, Archery Talk, Hunt Talk, and Saddle Hunter even has one. The Hunting Beast is another one. Camo Fire, I heard. 24 Campfire is a good forum and classified section. Steep and Cheap, Camel. There's lots of opportunities to buy. Black Ovis is another one that I've used before. Lots of opportunities to buy a lot of this gear at severely discounted rates. So you don't always have to go straight to the manufacturer, straight to the source. I also picked up a lot of people are intentionally or at least happy to buy American made. I heard that brought up a lot. And, you know, it's always worth supporting American companies if and whenever you can. And I don't personally need to feel like 100% of my gear is always coming from a U.S. manufacturer, but I pay attention to it. It matters to me to have an Exo pack, and I'm happy that I'm supporting them. It matters to me to have a tethered saddle, and I'm happy I'm supporting them. But I'm not going to get too bent out of shape when I know that Cheney's boots, which I also run, are actually made in Italy. It's right. For me, that's okay, right? Yeah. We just sort of do what we can. So I think that's kind of about. Yeah, go ahead. The what? Oh, the American. That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. So anyway, this was fun, guys. I really appreciate your time, and everybody watching and listening. I hope that you got something out of it. Again, North Carolina at backcountryhunters.org is how to get in touch with us. And if you hit us up there, then each of us can also respond personally, and I'm sure nobody would have a hard time sharing their information. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us walking down the street in whatever town you're at here in North Carolina. So it's great to have you, and thanks everybody again. And hopefully we'll catch you next time on our next gear dump or whatever it is we do. All right, guys. Cheers.
Later.
Thanks.
Later.